his hand, don't be mistaken. I believe in peace, but I won't be taken. I will not submit to authoritative man. I'm ready to die, but not for a lie. See the signs appear, it's gonna happen here.
This is Liberty Underground with Alex Snicker, Danielle Alexandra, and Greg Bowen on the 1787 Radio Network.
Well, good morning, Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, wherever you're at in the world. Hopefully you're having a good day. This is Alex, co-host, Liberty Underground, along with me. Well, Danielle is not here right this very second, but will be here shortly. And also in studio with us is the Prime Minister of the Sinister, Greg Bowen. Greg, how are you doing, sir?
Oh, yeah. Spectacular.
Is that a different voice that you're using?
A little bit. I'm fired up.
Fired up, huh? I'm still waking up, but I am, I'm not even fired up right now. I'm actually more... I don't even know what the word I would use. I'm a little shocked. I'm a little disappointed. I'm a little mad. But one of the things, and it's funny that this week had this quote in it, is that one of the things this week that I have put out, because I was doing quotes every week, and or every day of the week during Monday through Friday, and then decided to put out there was, let me see if I can get to the quote here. Oh, okay. Nothing gives one person so much advantage over another as to remain always cool and unruffled under all circumstances. It's a quote by Thomas Jefferson.
Right.
It's a quote I don't normally live by.
No, by no means.
By no means. I mean, hell, this show is, a testament to that. However, today I'm going to attempt to actually remain calm. And in doing that, I'm going to try to also explain, maybe just to give some general candidate tips, because I'm going to go with Danielle's thing on this one about, you know what, man, let's just not give a certain named person any named time on the show. But it doesn't mean you can't actually give tips to prospective candidates down the road if they're seeing things. So the first one I would give for any libertarian candidate running for office would be that when you give a speech, that you ought to mention the policy positions that you're running for in giving that speech. Because to some people, it may look like that when you give a speech that doesn't have where your policy positions are, that you may be trying to hide those policy positions. Or that you don't understand the policy positions that you're running on, and that you're just there to, learn, you should learn the policy positions and then give them out. The second thing is that while acting like a victim is something that can get you some short-term support, at the end of the day, people are going to want to know where you stand on the issues. The third thing is that you really want to try to avoid things that would be considered racist, anti-Semitic, in support of programs that, libertarians wouldn't support, like eugenics, things like that. You want to be careful to not support those things because, those things are, kind of rude.
To say the least.
To say the least. And the next one is, I would try to avoid pissing off everybody in the political party that you're running in, especially when there's time for other people to get involved in the race.
Yeah.
Because by doing that, you really are just setting yourself up for more competition. It's happened in the past. It's going to continue to happen. People aren't going to follow this advice. It happens. So you will, no matter and this is something I didn't know. Well, not that I didn't know, but that I didn't think of, is that, look, being charismatic will get you a certain amount of support.
Yes.
Being charismatic will get some people to overlook your positions or call them off, or not call them off, but will, say, well, that's not the priority. The priority is this, and go along with that. And that will happen. I mean, those things do happen. A small minority of people will, depending on what they see or how long they've been around or what they've done, to do that. Oh, the last thing I would do. I would probably try to know where people actually do stand on the issues or the history of them and not believe whack jobs that support guys like Rick Santorum. So, like, I would probably try to go against supporting those kind of things, because then those people would be wrong. So, like understanding that that person is probably lying or is unaware of where somebody actually stands or what party they actually belong to, especially a guy that's, an open Santorum supporter, I would avoid doing those things. And I would also understand the positions that you're running for. It's always an important thing to be able to do that. So that's probably the thing. All I'm going to go with today. Unless Danielle has something additional to add.
I'm getting it. Hold
I know you're getting in, babe. I know you're getting in.
Nobody turned on my computer?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I just got mine turned on.
Hey, I've come. Hold on now. Hold on a second here, though. I have done the. I have come in here when you've been in here, Danielle, and my computer wasn't turned on sometimes.
No, I have.
Oh,
I can't hear
now
it.
Greg's not even putting you on.
Right.
I had her mic turned off while she wasn't here. Sorry, I just got it back on.
I
you go.
have had to, because you've left it on, I've had to turn it off to restart it, and you've come in before I've gotten to hit the button again. But I always go by your computer to turn it on. But sometimes I realize it's already on, and I know how it freezes. So I had to shut it off, and you've come in before I've gone back.
I got you. All right. Well,
I don't know what you were talking about, so when you say it, unless Danielle has something to add, I'd have to actually know the subject to see if I have anything to add.
well, while we were keeping with the tradition, or the not tradition, but with the suggestion made by you of not mentioning a certain person's name here specifically, we were giving some candidate tips today.
And I want to address that, why there are certain people that we don't mention their name, and
Sure.
there's only a few people around the state over the years that we haven't mentioned, and this actually started probably in 2014 when there was someone running in South Florida for Congress that had made some very misogynist comments personally to me that I said I don't want his name mentioned.
Well, on the air.
On the air. Well, no. We weren't mentioning his name before that. And then you two said, listen, let the listeners hear that. Let them decide. I doubt he'd say anything like that on air. So let's just have him on. So you
Boy, were we wrong.
So you two convinced me that not only should we mention his name this one time, but also interview him.
Yeah.
And during that interview, even though I was completely against it, during that interview, he said, well, you just wouldn't understand this complicated issue because you're a woman.
Wow, you did totally say that on the air, by the
He
way.
totally said that on the air.
That was, what, honestly, I remember that one because we had a collective gasp happen in the room.
Oh, I bruised my chin.
You can almost hear the collective gasp from everyone listening.
Yeah.
Because everything stopped for a second.
There was a near vacuum in the Tampa Bay area from the quick gasp of
sucking
air
in of air that everybody did.
You know that Janet second sound, Larry? You know that Janet second sound?
So after that, the guys kind of said, okay, if you feel that strongly about a candidate that you don't want to mention his name, we're not going to push the issue. We just won't mention his name. There happens to be another one at this point who I am not calling a misogynist, but who definitely has made statements that are very racist and anti-Semitic. And because of that reason, I kind of made that same blanket rule that this is not someone who I'd want to announce on the air, because I don't feel like the statements that they've made is something that we would like to promote on our show. Even if we're saying we disagree, I just don't think that that's something that we want to highlight. And so these guys have been very respectful of that with me. But they definitely lean to the let's put it all out on the air and let everybody else decide, where I feel like there's certain lines that when you cross those lines, that we work very hard to have airtime, we work very hard to have the studio, and that those things shouldn't be tainted by people who have those kind of views and comments. And everybody has their issue. Like, there's certain issues that we don't talk about because Alex, is like, I just, I don't want to talk about those issues. Greg has some, and so we have kind of, and even though we've, maybe have gone into them once and then seen the reaction, we kind of just respect that about that person, that we don't bring it on air. And my issue is with certain candidates, and this is one.
There you go.
There you go. So that's my explanation, because I don't like to, silence people. I believe in people's First Amendment rights to say whatever they want. I think you have every right to be an idiot, but we have every right to not want to associate with you being an idiot.
Oh, that's another thing. Another candidate tip. Look, I can understand I might not understand, but at least can see the victim mentality. And that everybody's attacking me. However, freedom of speech is a funny animal, because it actually works both ways. And what I mean by that is that, and Greg made a post that was very, very good in explaining this. But
I think good doesn't quite fit it myself.
Phenomenal. It was phenomenal.
It was actually a great post.
Okay, thank you.
Look, you can go out and say whatever you want. Other people also have the freedom to challenge anything that you say.
Right.
The challenging of what you say isn't infringing on your First Amendment rights. It's just saying what you want to say back to whatever somebody else said. And so if you're going to claim the victim because somebody questioned you in a public manner and saying that that's somehow stifling your freedom of speech, as Greg said, that's just childish. That doesn't make you a revolutionary. It makes you a child. And I think that's a good thing to do. Look, and everybody's questioned on where they stand on the issues.
And I think they should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
I completely agree that everybody should be able to be challenged no matter what. That they should totally be challenged on the issues.
If you're not ready to be challenged, then you have no business being a candidate at all for anyone.
You're not ready to run for office.
Well, no, that's absolutely true. And if you can't handle it hold on. If you can't handle legitimate questions, then you ain't even ready for what the media is going to bring your way.
Oh.
Like, you ain't even ready for what the media is going to bring your way. Because, they're just,
This is...
I don't even know how to explain that one.
And in the one that we're talking about, the best case scenario is for the media to ignore them. That's this person's best case scenario, to get completely ignored.
Yeah, well, but also, and let me just say this as well, is that this is where, after talking to Danielle last night, this is where I actually made my mistake. Because my mistake was actually even giving any
credence at all.
Any credence at all. And that's just where I went wrong, is to even give it any credence at all. Because it really, part of me just can't believe that, like, there shouldn't be anyone. And again, I know people are going to look at it differently, so I guess I'm wrong in this aspect. There shouldn't be anyone that supports a person that puts out blatantly racist statements, anti-Semitic statements, that supports for things like eugenics programs, that supports, basically blocking off and cordoning off land that humans can't use, that would be federal land, because again, if you're running for, federal office, and federal land would be where it's at. And that's just a couple things, you know what I mean? Like, not to mention all the rest of the stuff, or not really understanding politics in and of itself, or understanding the position that you're running for. But, like, it's my fault for even acknowledging the existence thereof in a public way. And I shouldn't have done that. And, you know, it is what it is. It's not going to happen again, though.
Well,
because after today, it ain't even going to be this where we have a conversation where it's not even going to mention his name. No. This is where the day ends. It's done and over
I'm
with
not even
now.
going to mention the race. And listen, and when it comes to this race, I've already endorsed someone else. If they decide to get in the race, it's someone that I feel like I don't agree with on everything, but I think they did the right thing in the party by getting here a few years early, working with candidates, helping the party, and now wanting to run for office. I don't agree with what he does for a living and who he works with for a living, but I've endorsed him because I really believe that principle-wise he is in line with our party, and I think he did things the right way by coming here early and not just showing up one day and saying, hey, support me, I'm going to run for office. So because of that, if he decides to get in the race, I've already endorsed him. And if someone better gets in, then great. Maybe I'll rethink that. But at this point, that's who I would support. And I know that there was another person who also would not get my support. So I'm fairly certain I know who I would support. And I don't support any libertarian just because they have an L after their name.
Which was really the point of the article that was put out. I kind of have a little bit of a different take on this, and I know you guys understand it, but whether you want to act on it is different. We have put years into this. Mm-hmm. Years. And with those years, we have put time and treasure immeasurable into this.
Right.
And we have already had to do the damage control for bad candidates. In my local affiliate, I am still doing damage control from bad candidates. The people that are jumping onto this cult of personality, which is absolutely what they are doing, they are jumping on and latching onto a cult of personality. There is no substance here. And the people who are latching onto that and this cult of personality itself have no experience here. They have no skin in this game. They don't understand the damage control that we've had to do. They don't understand the time and treasure we've put into this. So they have no respect for the time and treasure that we have put into this. They don't care that if they come in and bring this all down or set us back 5, 10, 15, 20 years, it doesn't matter because they're going to be gone when this cycle is over anyway. We are not going to see these people after this campaign. They are not going to be volunteering. They are not going to be candidates. These people are here for their cult of personality, and they will be gone with it. Mm-hmm. We have seen it too many times before. It is what I'm dealing with in my local affiliate now.
Well, and even the candidate we talked about before, who we wouldn't mention in the 2014 run, is gone.
Exactly.
They come in, they do damage, and they leave.
That's the thing. We are coming from a place of experience. We have seen this before. You are nothing new. We know that we are going to have to do damage control for you your entire campaign and then clean up your mess when you are gone. We have had to do it before. We are going to do it again. And sorry if it makes us a little mad that we have to deal with this. Sorry if it makes us a little mad that you come storming in and act like you know everything when you are a complete political neophyte. You have no clue. You don't know what you're doing and you act like you know everything. There's a reason why we are offended. It is not the content of what you're saying.
Although that is
part of it. The part that pisses me off more than anything is what we have to deal with because of this. We have put so much time in building the infrastructure that is supporting you. The only reason you can come in and run as a candidate right now and even have the level of success you've had is because of the infrastructure built by us. And the people that we work with, and the people that have been doing this for years. And you want to come in and disrespect all those people that have created the infrastructure that is allowing you to even do this, and treat these people like dirt, and listen to the worst people in this party, to the liars and the lazy, the ones who aren't putting in work, the ones who will spread rumors and create more damage. And that's what you want to latch onto. I've got a big problem with that. I've got a big damn problem with that. We have all worked too hard to let people come in and pee on our rug and run out. The rug really tied the room together, man.
I have a response to that.
Greg liked that rug.
Greg did like that
Damn.
rug.
It
And
really tied the room together.
And I don't want to pee on your rug. But I will say this. Political parties are governed by rules. And I would imagine in 2009 when I joined the party that there were many people who probably didn't have a radio show that were saying very similar to things to what you have just said, Greg. And while I completely agree with your statement in a certain aspect of, we did all this work, these people are coming in screwing it up, you know what I mean? At the same time, do you know when we have, like, we've had conversations offline, not on air, but in the past, we've had conversations about, you don't know what to expect. If we wanted to grow the party seriously, then when you get to a certain number, you now have a ton of people that just got into the party that haven't been here, in a long time, but you don't know necessarily what that's going to look like, or it will allow itself for what we're seeing today.
Right.
We have to be prepared for that, and we have to outgrow that. Let me explain what I mean by that.
I know what you mean, but definitely.
Good.
explain.
Danielle wants to say something, though, because her hand is in the angle of, like, I have something to say.
And I understand what you're saying. And
I haven't even said it yet, but okay.
No. But I wanted to say something to Greg's point, because the one thing that you said is that you came in 2009 and people would be saying that about you. And you know what? And I think that we do need to look at everybody that comes in with discernment, because you just got here. But you proved yourself to be in line with the party, ready to work for the party. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a difference between coming in and attacking the party and doing things to create division, or coming in saying, I want to grow the party, I want to do these things, I want to do them with you. I'm not looking at any of the division here. You know what I'm saying? There's a way to come in new and still be accepted, and then there's a way to come in new and just create problems. And I think there's a big difference.
Now, okay, I mean, don't get me wrong, that is a difference, but let's just go down the road of let's go, I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you that there is a difference there. However, let's just consider that there is no difference for a second. I'll go with that. I'm not going to give myself a benefit up on this one. I understand, you're right, and I understand what you're saying, but let's say that that's not even the case. Let's say it's not the case. It is the case. Let's say it's not. What were we talking about again?
About coming into the party new and people.
Oh, yeah. People would be upset that somebody else is coming in here to do that. But you know what, though? The reason that we were able to do it and it was so successful was because the people that were there before didn't get anything done. They just didn't. They didn't get anything done. They weren't working hard. They weren't doing things. You had a couple people that were, at least running for office and stuff. But other than that, not really much was going on. So it's very easy to do. But you can't set up the rules to stop that from happening again. You can't. You cannot.
No.
And I'm not saying that you do. I'm not saying that you want to. But the way you beat things like this, and again, I don't always follow my own rules here, so I'm trying to, I do the best I can sometimes, and I have to get put back in line. But the best way to beat this is to really outgrow it, is to really just do better than it, and to have faith in people that they're going to make the right decisions. But understanding that not everybody, libertarian or not, is going to make the right decisions. But as a majority, as a whole, people are going to make the right decisions, because at the end of the day, people are going to look everything up. They may not look it up as quickly as some others. They may not understand the ramifications of it as quickly as others. They may not get the gist of what that will look like in the public to others. But as long as we're there, that once the media, if the media ever does show up, and that the media says, well, hey, this is what's going on here, is this what you believe? And we're able to counter it in a good way, which we will, and which we have done already, then we should be okay with what happens. However, Greg, what you're saying is absolutely true, which is why you have to make sure that you're out there as another voice, and that you really do have to explain to libertarians the rules. And what I mean by the rules is that the political party, known as the Libertarian Party, like other political parties, does not have control in the state of Florida necessarily as to who runs as a candidate in their party.
Right.
That we don't have any control over this, and I'm glad that we don't.
It's a good thing.
I know it sounds weird to say it that way, but I'm totally glad that we don't.
Yeah, I actually disagree with you, but you think it's a good thing. I disagree.
Alrighty then.
I like and I've talked about it before. I like the convention system that we used to have, where the party really did have a lot more say over who was going to be on the ballot than just anyone being able to be there. I've said, I mean, that's not something that you guys don't know. I've said it all the time.
Yeah, I actually agree with Danielle. I think the state has stolen our property rights by doing that.
Right.
All right. Well, all right. It is what it is then. I mean,
But go ahead.
I don't want to have that necessarily, and I don't.
That's a different discussion for a different day, and probably a
Right.
good one. But you're trying to make.
Well,
a
hold
point.
on. It's not going to be that good of a discussion because I go like at the end of the day, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with doing it that way either, as long as the people have a choice. So. However, with that being said, one of the negatives of doing that though is that you're really going to have just other people that want to run. We've had it in the past that aren't libertarian, and again, this isn't a litmus test thing. Again, telling somebody, look, I get mad, I guess, at somebody when they go to me, go, well, you're really not a libertarian. Well, no, I am. But here's why I am though, because I agree with the platform. I agree with the platform of the political party known as the Libertarian Party. I'm not one of these, deep book clubbers or anything like that. I'm not one of those guys. Look, man, I like to take the practical application of it and apply it, but I know the platform and I understand it, and I do know the basics of, you should be free to live your life as you see fit, and as long as you're not infringing on the rights of somebody else. And while somebody can make that statement that they agree with it, though, if you go back and you look at their platform of where they stand on the stuff they have put out, in mixed with all the theatrics, if you can lay out where somebody stands on the issues, then you can see if somebody is or is not. And I think we just need to have enough faith in libertarians to be able to discern that, I guess. And if honestly, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe they won't. Maybe they're like, well, it is what it is, and you know what? Then we failed, and we deserve to.
Libertarians are not immune to the most basic psychology. They're going to. I mean, what we're seeing going on, they're falling for a cult of personality.
Right.
They're jumping because they feel someone's being attacked. They're jumping to their defense out of this sense of righteousness, and all these things. These are natural reactions that your brain makes without you even thinking about it. It's just the way the brain works. There are basic survival instincts that our brains put itself through because there's so much information surrounding us every second of every day. Our brain can't process it all, and it fills in the gaps, and it jumps to conclusions, and it does things automatically for us that lead us astray, that make us make bad decisions. And that's what a lot of people are doing. A lot of people, if they were willing to sit down and discern what is actually going on, they may disagree with one side, but they'll find that they disagree with the other side as well. They'll find that they really have no place in this battle, and they shouldn't be involved at all. I think that's really the problem, is a lot of people are falling for the basic psychological tricks that their brain plays on them all the time. And they're just running with it. They're grabbing that ball and running towards the end zone.
Well, I think that everybody has, especially if you're not involved in, like you said, if you're kind of not really involved in the battle. But if one side is claiming victim over and over and over again, eventually the facts will look like they're the victim. Not because they're a victim, but because they've said it so many times. It's almost like that, and then you see one negative comment, and it's like, oh, I guess they are a victim. Not because it was true, but because they keep saying it.
Yeah. What I do, and here's where the discernment comes in. This particular campaign seems to worship strength and talk a lot about strength, but when you're playing the victim, how strong are you?
Well, I said, and I've said it here before, and I've said it with other candidates who go into this because they show up one day and everybody isn't like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here. I've just been waiting to come and support you. And when they start playing the victim, I've said it looks whiny and pathetic.
It absolutely does. It's horrible.
Yeah, it does look whiny and pathetic. It does. Look, I remember when I was running, and there was a couple places that I went to. Like I lived in the Orlando area, so I would go around Central Florida more than other places because that's where I lived.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I still had a job at the time, and I needed to make sure that, I was at work, but then going to these things at night and doing all this other stuff. So, like, I understand about having to go out to these different places. And I remember going to South Florida, to Broward County at the time, and Broward was meeting at a Denny's, I think. Yeah, it was at a Denny's.
I don't think where they met probably was the important part of the story, though.
No.
Probably not, but it was Denny's though. And I went there and gave my discussion of where I'm at, where I stand on the issues, and vote for me and all that kind of stuff. And I would think out of all the places that I went to in the beginning, that really got probably some of the biggest amount of pushback. And like if I was to go there now as a candidate, it would be a whole different scenario.
It would be at home that you'd get pushback.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's not what I mean, though. You know what I mean? Look, I'm not talking about running now.
I'm just trying to lighten up the mood.
Oh, okay. So, but in going down there, though, and giving that speech and then listening to the reaction from the others, I always, look, and I got attacked from libertarians, but it always seemed to me that I was able to, like with certain conversations, I was able to have a back and forth, and it worked out pretty well. And with certain times, once somebody got to a certain point, well, then, I attacked with attack. But if I were to have been attacked as much as I've seen other candidates get attacked, I would go back and look at my platform and see what party I was running under, and maybe that didn't make any sense. Because there's attacks, and then there's everybody, with the exception of a few, doesn't really like you. And not because you're not a charming guy or a charismatic guy, but because, well, first off, you are insulting to some people. And the other thing is
intentionally, I believe.
Yeah, intentionally. Oh, no. Totally intentionally. Again, and this is, not to give too much away here, I guess, but look, this is kind of the point, though. Look, if you're somebody that's going to run on, I'm being a victim, and they're all coming after me, then you need people to be coming after you in order to continue that as your campaign mantra. And what better way to do that than to attack others and then claim to be attacked once those people, fight back.
Which is why yesterday when we talked about it, I said it really should end, because the best way to get it to end is to not give any person a reason to claim victim status.
Right.
Because they can keep saying it. If nobody's saying anything negative, then they look like the fool.
Yeah, that's true. However, and again, this is where I actually do think I probably made a mistake. Because I kept my mouth shut up to this point. I mean, publicly. People would ask me privately, and I would give them the answer. Or I would have discussions about it privately. That's something I'm just going to continue to do. Somebody's going to ask me a question publicly, or if somebody's going to ask me a question, I'm going to give them an answer. My answer may be private, but I'm going to give them an answer. I mean, I won't preach it from the rooftops, but honestly, not because I support or oppose. I don't want to give you the press. I really don't want there to be a reason for people to even look to you, because in all honesty, my anger on this whole thing is, my opposition is professional. My anger is personal. And there's enough things that have happened on a personal level, not to mention the policy positions that you run for, that there's no going back for me. I mean, there's no going back on a candidate level or on a personal level. Personal level even more so. that one is probably even bigger right now. Because you go after my family, you go after my friends, you make my mother have to do more cleaning up at a convention because you're just too lazy to pick up the stuff yourself or you do it on purpose. Hey, you know what, man? I got to tell you, I got a problem. But, at any rate, understanding that flashes in the pan happen, we're going to have to deal with this guy for a limited amount of time. Afterwards, when he gets, beat up by whatever other libertarian decides to run against him, and he leaves, which he'll do.
Because they all leave.
Because they all leave.
When this happens.
Especially when this stuff happens.
It ain't like this is the first firebrand that's come along, and it won't be the last.
And it doesn't even...
Probably go ahead.
It's not even something that just happens on a state level. Like, this isn't something that just happens in Florida. I mean, look at nationally. We have Bob Barr and Wayne Allen Root, who our names I probably should ban from our show, but at the end of the day, they happen.
I don't know how Bob Barr and Wayne Allen Root aren't banned, by the way. I'm calling that one right now.
I know, right?
You don't say their names either.
Okay. But, even on a national level, we've had people like that who've come in, they use the party, and then they leave when, because people get this very arrogant, I'm here and everyone should just flock to me because I showed up. And when libertarians go, yeah, but what do you believe? And they say, and we're like, not so much. They get mad and leave. Not because anyone victimized them, but because they showed up with this arrogant, everyone should follow me because I exist. And libertarians aren't built like that.
Boy, I hate to have to defend people. Man, I really do. I'll go with you on Bob Barr on that one. I won't go with you on the other one, though. Not as much.
War was worse than Root.
It was worse.
Ideologically, you're absolutely right. Totally worse than the Root. However, I will say this. The dude did make some attempts inside the party, but was way too over the top.
And while he was doing that, he was promoting people from other parties so that he could further his own blog. So I don't want to hear it.
No. Eventually, you're absolutely right. That is the way that it ended up going down.
And actually, these two prove my point. Because here we are 8 years later, still dealing with the fallout of those jerks. There are people who 8 years later will have nothing to do with this party because we had Bob Barr as our presidential candidate. At my local affiliate, we are having trouble building that affiliate because people will not come and will not get involved because of someone who has not been involved for over 6 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, hey, guess what? We also had a candidate last year that caused a bunch of damage that we are also dealing with the damage control on. We have layers of damage control that we have to deal with because of horrible candidates.
I think you might want to put an S on that candidate instead of candidates.
Exactly. That's the thing.
Yeah, and that's what happens. But no, and I have to disagree. I think the only reason why Wayne Allen Root didn't promote...
You're saying his name
Sorry,
again?
but he said Bob Barr, so...
What are you doing?
So... Listen, the only reason there was a time period where that man did not promote people from other parties to promote himself is because it was a non-election year, so it wouldn't be helpful to him.
Yep.
No? All right. Well, all right. I'll stand corrected on that one. How about that? I'll stand corrected on that one.
Hate those two.
Oh, me too.
The dark years.
They're both back in the GOP now.
They are, and that is where they belong. They should stay.
That is kind of funny. All right. Well, I think that... was there anything else to add to this, by the way?
No, I think we've beaten this horse. For a subject I never even wanted to bring up. We've talked about it for 40 minutes.
Well, I mean, there's fallout that needs
There
to be
is.
addressed. So I don't think that it's wrong of us to make mention of this now because it's relevant.
And listen, this person personally attacked me again this morning, so
Which I saw.
Yeah, so I totally understand it was going to come up. I knew when I walked in the room it was going to come up. I seen other people making comments that they wanted to hear about it, so I knew on the drive home I was prepared for the subject to come up because I saw what was going on. But
I showed it to my wife. She's like, make sure when you see Danielle, you tell her I said, wow.
You responded too, right?
I did. I did respond. And listen, here's the thing, is there's a lot of people who go out there and try to disparage me like, well, did you know this? And I'm uncovering these huge secrets. Everything that has ever gone on, negative or positive, in my life, we have literally put out on air. I talk about it in speeches. There are a few things that happened, you know, that we don't talk about just because I have said this before, I was a victim of abuse. I don't talk about those times. I don't talk about that person just for my personal reasons because there are children involved. But other than that time and other than that specific situation, I have talked about everything. It's not some big secret you're uncovering. I use it in speeches because I try to let people know that these things can happen to you over things that are not your fault and to watch out for them. So honestly, there is nothing you can throw at me that I haven't already lived through in a newspaper or talked about myself.
Yep.
There you go. And there you go.
And the difference is, you know, like Danielle will admit to what's gone on.
Absolutely.
I will admit to the things I've done in my life. The difference is we're not trying to be candidates. We're not,
And I wouldn't, right.
Exactly. I am never going to be a candidate. Every once in a while, people will talk to me about it, and yo, you'll be such a great candidate, and I'll get my mind going towards it, and then I'll mention it to my wife, and she'll set me straight, and she's like, hell no.
Yeah, no. And listen, I know my place is in the background. I'm a good lobbyist. I'm good at what I do legislatively. I'm good with candidates when it comes to strategy and things like that. That's where I belong in this system. I should never be the one out in front. I don't want to be the one out in front. I was as close to the front as I could have been with Wiley because as a campaign manager, I had to make a lot of public statements and things like that. And even that, looking back, was too much for me and too much for my family.
Yeah. You know, so Danielle doesn't want to be out in public knowing what she has to deal with. I don't want to be out in public as a candidate knowing what I'll have to deal with. You know, and that's all we ask is have a little bit of self-actualization. You know, realize who you are and what baggage you carry, and are you going to benefit us by being a candidate? I told this person, I'm not looking to run you out of the party. I see value in you. You have a lot of valuable qualities that we can use, but not as a candidate.
Okay. Alrighty then. That is where me and Greg have a disagreement.
And I totally understand that people are going to disagree with me on that. But you guys know, you how often have you called me the Switzerland of the LPL?
Oh, I understand it. No.
I mean, I am not the one that's looking for internal warfare. I am not looking to bring a fight against everybody that shows up. And put up a litmus test and say, hey, are you really a libertarian? I'm not that guy. But I have put in a lot of work on this in this party, and I want to protect the work that we've done.
Well, no. That's true. No. You're absolutely right about that. I mean, no, it's... It is a tough balancing act every day. And the balancing act is between being completely inclusive and to be able to say when wins needed to be said.
Right.
Is that you want to be open, and I have to use something I saw this morning from somebody. I'll leave it all generic, but you can't be so open that your brains fall out.
Exactly.
You can't have such an open mind that your brains fall out. Like, you got to have a little discernment here as to who you support and who you don't. But again, we are living underneath the rules that parties dictate by, or that parties are dictated by. And whether we like those rules or not, those are the rules. And that's all we can do is explain to people. And while there is a negative side to that, I think if we go to the media, and hopefully when we go, if this person happens to get some media attention, then... you know, we can say, look, man, we don't get to pick here. You know, we'd rather have this guy.
Thank you, Charlie Crist.
That actually the change. I mean, some
that
of it is
prior Bush,
but
I
that
think.
was the prior to that. It was probably about 15 years ago. They actually changed to where the party used to nominate at convention to where the party now we became a primary state. And when you become a primary state, we were always a primary state for presidential candidates. That was just always there. But your local candidates used to be done, local statewide candidates used to be done by convention at the party, at the party's expense. And the party used to be the ones saying, yes, this is the person that we want to represent us. and that was done at convention. And now it's, anyone can put their name in to run, and it's on a primary, and, whoever wins, wins. So the party used to have a lot more dictates in who could run, and now it's completely open, and the only recourse we have is on the ballot during a primary.
You're welcome, taxpayers.
Yeah, and
You
now
all
the
get to pay
taxpayers
for
are
this.
paying for it instead of the parties paying for it.
So are you guys saying that you'd rather go back to like a caucus system?
I would rather go back to the convention system, yes.
What how you do? How would you even accomplish that in Florida?
Well, like we are required by law to have a Libertarian Party of Florida convention every single year. The candidates would go in front of that convention, say this is what I would like to run for, and then the people at convention, the delegates at convention, actually choose between the candidates. You have your primary, but you have it there.
We would do it the same way we do presidents at national.
Right. It would work the exact same way.
Well, we wouldn't do it in the national though. So.
No, we wouldn't do it. We wouldn't do it at a national level. Obviously, we would do it at state convention, but we would
make sure you
determine
say
our governors, our senators, state house,
All the
all of that would
candidates
would
be
be
there.
worked out at convention.
And we would be able to have rules, like you have to be a member and a registered libertarian, or now there's certain things that were always in the law, like you can't be exclusive, but you can have simple guidelines to who can run and who can't.
I wonder if we could ever change that. I doubt we'd ever.
We'd ever be able to go back, but it was one of those things that used to be on the parties to pay for. The parties decided who represented them. The parties made the guidelines on who could run, and now it's completely done by the state, and the taxpayers are paying for it.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, I guess we have other things to discuss today other than
I hope so.
dealing with this stuff. I will say this, though, on a different subject that is somewhat not necessarily related, but kind of related. It is amazing to watch Donald Trump.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I was like, well, speaking of racist, don't we have some Donald Trump news?
It really is amazing to watch Donald Trump.
I don't know if amazing is the word I would call it.
I would call it amazing. I really would, because you know what, man? This guy is just saying and doing whatever he wants, just causing fights with everyone, and yet gaining in the polls.
Now, did you see Megyn Kelly came back from vacation, and the day she came back, he went and attacked her, and she had said nothing about him.
Yeah, I heard about that. I mean, I didn't see it, but I heard about it. And people love that, though, man. They really, they hate them some Megyn Kelly.
I don't even, it's just so, and I just look at the things that he's saying, and it's just so over the top, and it's just so ridiculous. And half the things that he's saying he wouldn't even be able to do as president, let alone all of the constitutional issues that go around that. And to just, every time I hear him speak, it just seems like it's so hate-filled and so self-aggrandizing. I can't even believe that anyone would follow this person.
Yep.
I agree. The one problem that I see here, though, is that, wow, I can't believe I'm going to say this, and I almost shouldn't even say it because I'd hate to give people credence or credit. The one thing that people have talked about as what we have to be doing in order to get this country back on track is educating people on the principles of libertarianism because they don't know them. And when you see somebody like Trump get the kind of support that he's getting, and the people don't really understand that what Trump is representing is fascism, that's really a problem.
Like, if you're mad at Barack Obama because he's a socialist, then you should really hate Donald Trump because he's a fascist.
Well, I don't know if you should hate Obama more or less, depending on your qualities. I mean, look, what I will say about it is Trump seems like more of an alpha, and Obama really is more of a papa. Not a papa in not papa in like a dad sense. I mean, using the letter P and then go with wussy after that.
The thing
You know
is,
what I'm saying?
I knew what he meant, but
I know what he means. It's just hilariously.
to hear him try to describe
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I mean, look, Obama.
Is that one of those ones that as it came out, you're like, oh, man.
I didn't go out.
He's like, oh, I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I'm going
But
to say
here's
this
the
anyway.
thing. When you watch this dude throw a baseball, when you watch this dude ride a bike, when you watch this dude bowl, you realize that he probably has never done any of those things before. And that I think that his wife and his kids could kick his ass. Like, I think his wife is the alpha in the relationship. Like,
Oh, without
his
a
wife's
doubt.
Yeah.
really the one in control. And I think bitch slaps him on a pretty regular basis.
I will say that just in
Like, I think there's
presence-
domestic abuse going on there.
you know, just as in presence, you know, and you can tell a lot by the way someone kind of carries themselves as they're walking, as they're shaking hands. Definitely, Michelle Obama is the more dominant. I don't know what I don't
Person in the relationship.
Personality. She is the more dominant personality. The way she walks, the way she carries herself, much more confident, much more dominant personality than her husband. So I would not doubt if anyone had said she was the one running everything. I wouldn't doubt that. That wouldn't seem crazy to me.
It's very much like the Clinton dynamic because we all know who wears the pantsuits in that
Oh, yeah.
relationship.
Yeah, but now when he was running, think
Only because
about
Bill's worried about other strangers.
because Bill's worried about the next pantsuit over there.
I don't think he goes with pantsuits ever, other than having one. I think he's a monogamous pantsuit person. It's the dresses that give you that let him go out and about.
But here's the thing:
Just saying.
if you remember the first time that Bill Clinton ran, she was very kind of meek and mild mannered. She wore like the little headbands. They'd ask her questions. She'd be very soft spoken. And so he very much looked like the dominant person. Now, on the second run, she became much more aggressive and dominant. But that first time, it was like, oh,
Well, it was actually that first campaign. As soon as he won, she went in,
That
she
was
became
it.
that aggressive person. I think she was intentionally reserved during that first campaign
Yep.
to allow Bill to get the attention. She didn't want it on her. Let the attention be on
Very
him.
smart
But
way to
she
go.
was that aggressive person. Yeah, that's the thing. We can say a lot of things about Hillary. She is not dumb.
no, she's not. You can say a lot about her, you know, ethics.
Yes, she may be evil, but she is not
She's
dumb.
not dumb.
I don't think she actually understands that word, that E word we just talked about. I don't think she understands that.
I definitely question her ethics, but I don't question her intelligence. She's smart like a fox.
Yeah. She's one of those people that's very dangerous
Yep.
because she is so intelligent and so many people want to write her off as dumb when she is not. She is not. That's the Barack Obama's the same. You want to call him dumb, that's fine. He is not.
No,
He is not
he's
an
not
idiot.
dumb. Maybe weak.
Yeah, weak. You can criticize him in a lot of ways, but intelligence is not one of them.
Now, Donald Trump,
Donald Trump. My biggest, he's a jingoist. That's my biggest problem with him. I mean, the man.
He plays Jingo?
yes.
Another word
giant Jenga and the Trump man.
Another word that Alex doesn't understand, which he totally should if he's going to be in politics. But well,
I
he kind of
understand
is
the
one
word.
too, though, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
What the hell are you talking about?
I would say that Donald Trump definitely is not lacking in the bravado category,
Yeah.
but I would definitely question the intelligence. Just because your dad gave you $40 million to start your business doesn't mean you built some success. You started with $40 million.
Yeah. Yeah, he got his money the old-fashioned way. He inherited it.
Yeah, I mean, let someone else, with a little more intelligence start with $40 million and see what they build.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on.
It's going to be fabulous.
It's going to be huge.
It's going to be huge. It's going to be huge.
Huge.
Look, this guy's fabulous. This guy, terrible. Terrible. Like, that's all he ever says, by the way. Like, this is really good and this is really bad. And that's all he says. Every time, no matter what. These people are phenomenal, Like, hold on. Let me go read the paper as I'm up here giving a speech. See what they're saying about me, this guy? He's bad.
I honestly wasn't sure if Donald Trump was going to break out
Like,
in
he had
the
to put
weather
some reading
report.
glasses on.
Because I watched a speech of his, and all he was doing was literally reading what other reporters were saying about him and reading poll numbers. I was like, what is this, like the newscaster? Are you going to break out into the weather report? And there's a hurricane.
There's a huge hurricane heading towards the East Coast.
This thing is terrible. It's terrible. However, it's going to be huge.
And buy my book.
And buy my book. The Art of the Deal. In my book, The Art of the Deal.
Ann Coulter was up here. Buy her book. She's got a good book. You know, she's doing a good job.
For real. I feel like...
I think for Halloween, I'm going to be Donald Trump.
I feel like Donald Trump's campaign is just one long Amazon commercial.
I don't know.
I think
You
he's
can
trying
get
to...
it on Kindle.
he's trying to bring borders back. And not the ones on the country, the bookstore.
Bookstore.
The bookstore.
That's why he keeps talking about we need to build the wall.
Okay.
He needs the wall to the bookstore borders.
Yes, I'm crafting a new joke here. I'm going to find out the right way to phrase this. But yes, I just found myself a new joke.
Look, the other thing, the other problem that I have with Trump is that he doesn't even remotely close understand the position he's running for.
Yeah.
He doesn't even close to do it. I don't even understand the problem. But it's just unbelievable. You know what? Let's just leave it like it is. Whatever it is, it is.
We're gonna have to write it on the whiteboard, the list of people who shall not be named on this show anymore.
We're just going to title it The Voldemorts. And then underneath is a list. And
Donald Trump is getting really close to being on the list. Like, for entertainment value, the fact that we can make so many jokes, like he stayed out of the fray of being on that list. But at some point, he's just going to go too far.
yeah.
It's huge.
You're saying it wrong. It's huge.
It's huge.
It starts with a Y.
With a Y.
3 O's.
Huge. Hold on. It's going to be huge. Did I do it right there?
That's better.
Is that better?
You're
Huge.
getting there.
You're getting there.
This is going to be...
The problem is this is like a New England accent thing, and you have no New England accent. It's not even just New York.
Right.
I mean, this is like a Rhode Island, Delaware, Vermont type thing.
All mixed into one.
Yeah. And this is
Well, I could try to sound like a thespian, but I guess that's...
I mean, that's the funny thing is Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders have that fully in common. They both say huge constantly.
Oh, I know. It's driving me nuts, too. Like, I don't know. Like, have good diction, please.
Don't be huge.
Work on your non-regional diction,
All right.
like a newscaster.
All right, let's just take a break. Let's
Okay.
take a break at this point already because I'm done. I'm tired. Hour number 1 is in the bag. You know, hour number 2 can come up here. And hopefully you enjoyed the first hour. Hopefully you thought it was a good time.
Although most people were like, I have no idea what they're talking about.
What are they talking about? They're talking about Voldemort. He who must not be named.
Yeah. Hopefully you'll like hour number 2. We'll be back. 1787network.com. Liberty Underground Show. Next hour coming up.
Hi, this is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
For many years, libertarian candidates have been up against the political machines of the Democrat and Republican duopoly. Libertarians in Florida needed a machine of their own, and now they have it. The Florida Libertarian PAC was created to support principled, professional candidates here in the state of Florida for local and statewide offices. We are committed to seeing a libertarian victory in the state of Florida. We need you to make that a reality. Visit FloridaLibertarianPAC.com to get information on how you can see a libertarian victory in Florida. Political advertisement paid for by the Florida Libertarian PAC, not in conjunction with any candidates or candidates committee.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, DUI and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Oh, we're back.
We're back.
That's Tang. That's a good Tang. I love Tang, by the way. Love Tang. Tang.
Sausage and tang for breakfast.
All right, so one other thing that I did want to make a somewhat of a semi-announcement on. There is a move going on by people up in Hernando County that they are in conversation. Some people, a couple of them in particular, are in conversation with a radio station where they are lobbying these people on my behalf. Not because I told them to, by the way, but because they decided.
They contacted you out of the blue.
Yeah, they told me about it. That they are going to attempt to see if the radio station, which we'll leave unnamed for now, because I don't want to have people call them just yet, that it's possible. There's a possibility. It's not. It's out of the realm, but the opening is there to do a Monday through Friday show from 9 to 11 on an FM stick.
In that local area.
Well, yeah, but that local area covers a big.
It's a big territory. Yeah.
That's a big stick, though. I mean, that's a big stick. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not a very. It's funny.
Not very populated.
It's funny. It's a big stick, and I would argue that the Tan Talk listening audience probably equals that.
Right, because while it goes for a large amount of miles, the radius is very big. It's a very sparsely populated area.
Yeah. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. Hernando County itself has a large amount of people that live there. I think, what are they, 300,000? No. 200,000.
No, yeah. I mean, and you have to remember that Pasco County has, and they do this by population, Pasco County has 3 House representatives because that's how big in population we are. Hernando has 1.
They only have 1?
Just 1.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
There you go.
So
learned something new today.
Just Pasco, which is a small county, is 3 times as big as Hernando.
Yeah. Well, remember, most of Hernando is like protected land.
And it's fun. And there's still a lot of farmlands when you get out further. Like when you're getting out to like that Sumter and, where Sumter Citrus and Hernando all kind of meet. There's still a lot of cattle farms out there. So you have people that have very large tracts of land that are cattle farmers.
Yeah, you've got a lot of agrarian industry there,
Right.
and a huge swaths. I mean, almost the entire coastline of Hernando County is either state or federal protected land.
Right.
Is it really?
Yeah. Now, that's why you don't get to the beach at the Gulf there, except for Pine Island, and there's only the one. Everything else, when you say the beach, at Hernando Beach is actually the river.
Oh, wow. I didn't know. So they own all that land?
Yeah.
It's more
Yeah.
land that they own.
Well, some of it's federal, some of it's state, but all of it, a vast
like
majority of
protected
Hernando is
wetlands.
protected.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not developed. and
That's why
probably
when we
never
go,
will be.
when most people, when they go to the beach, they're on the Weeki Wachee River. That's why there's Buccaneer Bay. There's not something at the Gulf.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, on the line with us, right? Well, that's good to know. Thank you guys for the information. That's good to know. And
Your
on the,
geology update.
on the line with us right now, though, is Brandon Jones from the Global Dispatch. Brandon, how are you doing, sir?
Brandon?
Brandon?
Okay, let me try him again.
Is Brandon not there? Must not
He
be
was
there.
he was there, but we lost him. Hold on.
Okay. Well, we'll get to Brandon here in a second because I'm sure he's got some great news to talk about. It's always funny when you go to the Global Dispatch's site, though. You know what I mean?
Now-
The pictures alone are some of just the scary. honestly, I do think that sometimes they really do find ways to make these pictures as scary
Very
as possible.
scary. Now there's certain,
Like, give
you
me
know,
nightmares.
like we talked in the first hour how there's certain subjects that some of us don't want to talk about, and we tend to do that. But now when Brandon's on, we give him carte blanche, and he ends up bringing up those subjects quite a bit.
He can.
And that is
Yeah.
when we end up talking about them. So
That's true.
kudos to Brandon for pulling it all out of us.
Fi-
Breaks the seal.
finding the ways around it. Brandon, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm not sure what seal I'm breaking this morning.
Oh, I don't know. You'll have to. I don't think you do it on purpose, mind you. I
No.
think that it's not done intentionally. You just sometimes just do that.
There's certain subjects that we, as the three of us, kind of like. There's certain subjects Alex just doesn't like to talk about. He just doesn't, so we don't bring them up on the show, and certain things that Greg doesn't like, so we just don't bring them up on the show. It's just as one of those, we kind of stay off those issues. But you tend to hit them all.
Yeah, we never want to tell you what those things are because we'd rather you just say what you want to say. So
And I get to, because you never hit on my issue, which tends to be candidates that say very bigoted things, and you stay away from that. so I
he
love
talks
the
about Trump.
reaction.
He
He
talks about
does
Trump.
talk about Trump, but I love the reaction of these two because it's like, here we
Yeah,
go.
we trampled all over that last week with an abortion diatribe that went on for probably too long for many, many listeners. So
yeah, that did go for a while, but I honestly didn't mind the discussion though. But how are you doing? How you doing, Brandon?
Oh, I'm very blessed. Another beautiful day, and things are just plodding right along. How are you guys?
We're doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good.
So have you gotten together your barbecue items for the upcoming hurricane?
Oh no, we're always prepared well in advance for whatever we'll need. So I'm not worried about it. We can deep fry a couple turkeys. We'll be good for days. So Erica didn't scare me one iota.
I actually, we laugh because we do have friends that are from like other places, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I hope you guys are okay with the hurricane." And we're like, "It's a Cat 1. That's like barbecue weather.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?"
Come on, I'm getting my rain buckets out. It's about time.
Getting my rain buckets out. Serious? I mean, with all the rain that already happened before, those things aren't full yet. I mean, you got a lot of damn rain buckets if that's the case.
I use it.
There you go. All right.
It hasn't rained in a while.
But yeah, so I always
Hold on.
find it
In
funny.
your area, it hasn't rained in a while, but
But I always find it funny, like in other states, they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's a Cat 1 hurricane coming," and in Florida, we're like, "Yeah, it's a Cat 1. Let's break out the barbecue, have a party."
Yeah, we go driving in that. I mean, that's when my friends go surfing because you can finally go
You
surfing
can
in
finally
Florida.
do something.
yeah.
I remember going shopping in one of the tropical storms, and it was great because there was no one in the store.
That's awesome.
It was fantastic. You're like in Walmart by yourself. You outnumber all the employees. They're like, "Hey, how you guys doing?"
Now, one of the things that you have listed on the Global Dispatch, by the way, is a story that was done about details of the U.S. pressure on Norway to detain and deport Edward Snowden. That this has been that something's been released about this.
Yeah, just intricate details. I mean, I don't think it's any surprise that the U.S. government had sent out probably notices to pretty much most of Europe and Asia during that time frame, depending on where Snowden would land, where he'd be trapped in Russia, some different things like that. And the Norway letter is intricately described in some details and stuff's quoted right from it. So you really can see what their tactics were and what their approach was to handling Snowden.
Wow, they really were going. They really wanted to get this guy. I mean, on a side note here for Snowden, like I'm sure Snowden didn't want to end up in Russia.
Yeah.
Probably not.
But now that he is in Russia, though, I wonder, like, how does he feel about what like? And I know he's come out and said some things about it, but you got to be careful in what you say
Because you're in Russia.
because you're in Russia. But like, I'm curious about like, what does that guy do every day now? You know what I mean? Like, what is he doing for a job?
Just don't let Putin check out your ring.
Yeah, right. But it's always funny to think about that stuff, Brandon.
Well, and I think that he's probably making the best of it. I mean, he's done a lot of Skyping type conferences and speaking engagements. That kind. He is actually scheduled to go to Norway. That's another reason why they were kind of brought up and they were kind of so public about what has been transpiring. So it'll be interesting to see, if Snowden will actually, appear somewhere. So right now he's still kind of on lockdown and he doesn't travel internationally. And how long until this kind of blows over that he would, not be, under that watch? I don't know if that'll ever be.
Go ahead, Danielle.
Well, and you have to wonder, as someone living in Russia, and you're able to stay there right now, but you have to wonder, what if the Russian government decides, we don't want to house you anymore? We're not letting you stay here, without repercussions. What happens if they just decide, hey, we want to, get better relations with America and we're going to hand you over? I mean, that always has to be kind of that back fear, no matter where you're at.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's really going to go away. I think that's one of the reasons that he was in China for such a brief amount of time, because he'd really feel safe. He felt like they would roll over right away, and that he wasn't going to be able to stay there any length of time. And whatever the agreement is in Russia, he at least feels comfortable enough that he's been there for quite a while, and it doesn't appear as though he's going to make any major changes. We also know that his ultimate goal was South America, so in many cases, maybe he'll eventually just go off the grid and pop up somewhere in Bolivia or something. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true. No, that's true. It's not over yet. And I think that's the other thing I wanted to say about the Snowden thing is, do you think that he got big enough to where that the government couldn't go over there and assassinate him? I think he's gotten to the point now where it would really look bad if someone were to go over there and, knock him off.
I think if he were to die in an actual car accident, it would look bad. I mean, I don't think there's a way around it now. I think because of who he is, what he represents, the conspiracy theories will always surround anything that happens to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they almost have to work to keep him alive just to make sure that...
Like, this guy better, die in his 90s.
Yeah, he's gonna get the flu one day, and there'll be a conspiracy theory about that. So it doesn't really matter now.
Yeah. They probably got food tasters checking out his meals, make sure he doesn't get food poisoning.
Yeah, exactly, right? What's funny enough is when I was on an Italian ship, totally off topic of the story there.
Nothing to do with what we're talking
Hold
about.
on, Will. You'll see where I'm going with this.
Cue the Wayne's World transition.
When I was on an Italian ship, I was on this ship called the Garibaldi, right? And whenever you would get in line, they would have food tasters that would go first in line, and they would be the ones that would grab food and then taste the food, right? But the Italians always let us go second. They're like, no, you Americans, you go, and I always thought it was just being polite. I'm like, maybe they're just being polite. Maybe what had more to do with the fact of maybe we get the food quick enough to where even if you have some food tasters, it takes them a couple minutes to die, and you kill all the Americans at the same time.
Oh, I'm sure that's what it was.
Yeah. At the time, though, I thought they were just being polite.
Those, they're so nice over there.
No, you Americans. Yeah. No, you Americans.
The Italians have always been our
friends. It's not good. That's what they say all the time. No, Americans, it's not good.
Listen,
not good.
I got to tell you, Italians look out for self-preservation first.
Yeah,
I love them. I'm Italian, but they're all about self-preservation.
A lot of pasta, not a lot of pizza, though. I was a little upset about that. But at any rate, one of the things that you have on the Global Dispatch, Brandon, is a Hillary Clinton article where she likens the GOP pro-life candidates to terrorist groups who don't want to live in the modern world.
Yeah, I guess it's not really a surprise, but she's definitely doubling down. She doesn't actually say Planned Parenthood by name, but obviously when you start reading between the language that she uses and how she chooses her words very specifically, that's pretty much what she's saying, that all of the criticisms of Planned Parenthood, the calls to defund Planned Parenthood. It's all about taking away these privileges. It's going to take us back to medieval times and these kinds of things. So the language is a little bit harsh, and at least was headline worthy to make note of today.
I don't understand. Well, not to get too much into the whole Planned Parenthood thing, but like Clinton is. I mean, I don't understand how a woman like Clinton could claim to be pro-woman. And the reason I say that is that whenever there was a woman that was on her husband's jock, boy, she didn't seem very pro-woman then.
Come on.
Like she didn't really, and they wouldn't have destroyed the lives of many people because of her husband's, affinity for the strange. But just to see this woman go after, like, oh, wow, I'm a defender of women. Well, yeah, unless they're licking on your husband's chops. I guess you don't really defend women then, And, never mind. I'm just saying.
I think you're making a really horrible point right now.
I really am.
I think we needed the Wayne's World music again because
We need to pull you out of
where he's
there.
going with this.
Yeah, no, he's not. Look, screw Clinton. I don't like Hillary Clinton.
We're not picking up what you're throwing down, Snicker. This is about Planned Parenthood. Don't go there.
I guess.
Hillary Clinton is bad.
Now you
What's
also
up with those pantsuits?
You're also talking on the Global Dispatch about the Quinnipiac poll. Adds bias to poll with Biden, no Al Gore or Elizabeth Warren. Like they're really trying to figure out if Biden has a shot or something like that, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, and you make a quick phone call and you call them up. They just refuse to, quote, discuss our criteria. And it's like, well, but he's not actually running. Why is he on the list? Sir, we're not going to discuss that with you. We're not going to discuss our criteria with you. Well, it's not really a criteria. It's like, why is he on the poll? I mean, why is he there? It's like, if I were Martin O'Malley and I was Jim Webb, I'd be a little ticked off, man, that everybody keeps including Joe Biden on polls if he hasn't actually announced. And it's kind of, look, I understand Biden will likely run. I know there's been meetings with him and Elizabeth Warren, but, they're showing, the headline of Politico is Biden's doing better than Clinton. Well, he wouldn't be if he wasn't in the poll. That he shouldn't be on the poll because he's not actually running. So just want to throw out there. Plus, I kind of have a little bug for Quinnipiac, to be perfectly honest, because they're considered the most accurate poll. It just kind of irritates me when they do stuff like this.
Well, and I did see that at least on some of the polling that Donald Trump is saying, I'm hitting record numbers, they switched the criteria from likely voters to just voters, which means that they're pulling a sample that has people that generally don't go out and vote in a presidential election year, and that tends to skew polling towards someone who is pretty much not gonna, has no chance, but it skews that polling towards them.
Well,
yeah, and some of the headlines are using the data of overall voters and not just a likely registered Republican voter to determine a GOP poll. So it'll be something very generic or very benign and make Trump look like he's even bigger than he is. But actually, he's doing horrible in liberal circles, and he's losing worse than most of the GOP candidates to Hillary.
Yeah, when you just use the Democrat side of things, he does very, very poorly.
Yes.
Even compared to the other, and I would say more polarizing people in the GOP that you would think would do worse with the Dems than Donald Trump are actually doing better than him.
Ironically enough, I don't think there's anybody more polarizing than Trump in the GOP anymore. That wasn't true 6 months ago, but...
Well, I'm saying
he
there's
definitely cleared the room there.
There's more pro-life candidates that are doing better with Democrats than Donald Trump is, which kind of shows that this immigration stuff, at least with the left, is really not going to help him.
Yeah.
Well, and if you look, I went through the Quinnipiac. I clicked on the link on the Global Dispatch's website. And in clicking on that link, I saw that they have 17 candidates that are Republicans running, and they have 6 Democrats that are running. So they actually
Well, one is Biden, so technically he's not running.
Well, yeah, you're right. No, you're right. And on the Republican side, there's nobody on that list that isn't running. Every one of them is running.
They don't have like other Republican senators or governors or House reps or anything. They don't have Ron Paul on a list or anything like that. We don't have anything like that, but only we have Joe Biden.
Now, I will say that Joe Biden did at least officially open an exploratory committee. So he is filed with the FEC to at least have an exploratory committee, which is one more official step right before you would announce. But it does not guarantee that he'll actually announce.
And the polls are always done, a week ago, so it's not like it was done yesterday, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. That was nice though. Nice going into these little things here, and I like the fact, Brandon, that you always do put the links up there of where you're getting.
Well, I try to. I have to admit, we actually forget. We usually are not trying to not put the source or not put the link. Sometimes people will call us out on that. I'm like, oh, I actually just forgot to do it. It does happen from time to time, folks.
Yeah, no, it happens. It's one of those things, man. What are you going to do?
I'm not Fox or CNN that doesn't link to anybody. They just take your stuff.
They do. They just take it.
That sucks that they just take that.
All of the big companies are worse now with the new Google algorithms that have changed, that the bigger the companies, the big mainstream press agencies and outlets, they actually don't link back to hardly anybody.
Well,
and NBC only link back to their own affiliates.
And what bothers me is, I'll go into, Google News and stuff, and I'll go look up a story, and then I'll want to see maybe I can get more information from another news source, and it is word for word the same. And they don't credit anyone. It's not like they credit it back to the AP or they credit it over here. They credit I'll go through 6 or 7 news stories that all are literally word for word the exact same story, and there's nothing that would let me know that I was going to be reading the same story 6 times. They do not credit each other.
Yeah, and really, the worst part too, a better example would be, Robert Harriman did a health and disease story 2 days ago. He was kind of like the breaking news guy, did it at 10 o'clock at night, wakes up the next morning and it's the big headline on Yahoo. Not only does Yahoo not link to any sources, they don't link it or mention him. So it just kind of shows that they just do whatever they're doing. There's no accountability. We have lost total control of the media in this country.
Oh, absolutely.
But then a little alternative media outlet puts something up, and you're suddenly hit with a bunch of DMCA's because you're taking copyrighted material like you do all day long, and no one cares.
Well, you use my stuff.
Yeah, you stole my article, but I'm supposed to care.
Now hold on. One thing I wanted to ask you, because you said this right from the beginning, was I thought that the algorithm was that if you linked more things, that it would help, not hurt.
Correct, but it will only help those that you're linking to, not linking from. So it doesn't do CNN any good to link to anyone else because it's just going to hurt them. They don't want to actually give any credit to NBC, even if they mention them by name. They're not going to actually give them the actual link back.
Okay.
That's what's happened. Is they realize that they don't really have to give link backs. If no one's going to hold them accountable, if the Americans are not going to hold the press accountable, well, listen, you're not even appropriately crediting your sources. Just because you say in the story, he was on CBS. Well, yeah, but you copy and pasted everything else. You didn't even link back to CBS, and now we can't find the CBS story. You could have just made it up. I mean, it's a slippery slope that is extremely dangerous.
Well, the thing that's really pathetic is that almost all of these stories come from Reuters or the AP, and it is word for word what Reuters or the AP put out. The only time you're getting anything original is if they actually get an exclusive interview with somebody, and then that interview is it. But what they actually put in text, it's just a copy and paste of AP or Reuters.
I love how they do one little introductory line, we have been on top of this story, and then it's the AP article.
Yeah. That's why I just go to AP and Reuters for news instead of going to any of them.
Why bother? That's the only thing you're going to read all day anyways.
Yeah.
No, it's a good point. What else is going out there in the global dispatch world, Brandon?
Well, obviously, I think that there's a lot. There's a lot of the political information out there right now. It's almost like just beating the drum. We're going to do a little thing next week about how biased is the global dispatch. We're going to break down a little bit about who we've actually covered and not covered and that kind of thing because we're human too, and I guarantee there's been a disappropriate amount of Trump coverage compared to everyone else just because of the nature of what we do. But nothing is as big this week as the Virginia shooting, the tragedy there, and we're going to dive a little bit more into that over the weekend and flesh out to see if there's anything else that hasn't been said already. in that. But that was obviously a massive story for us. We were very early on that, identifying him and the manhunt and what was actually happening.
Well, what's your take on this whole thing?
Crackpot, insane, racist guy decided that, he's going to blame the world for probably sticking at his job and decided to go shoot a white woman and film it and then go out with his little celebrity status.
And I want to say this, because I've seen this all over the place, is that now you have the conspiracy people saying that it was a hoax and things like that, which is really driving me crazy because it is very easy to manipulate timestamps on things to the point where if you change your time zone setting on things like Facebook, Twitter, all of these social medias, it actually changes the time that someone posted something to reflect the time zone that your settings are in. So even though I'm sitting in Florida in Eastern time, if I go onto Twitter and change my time zone to Pacific time, it will then look like everything was posted 3 hours earlier than it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
absolutely, and that's actually been a bone of contention we've had very much with international stories. I know that a couple years ago we were covering Turkey, and we're watching live feed stuff happen, through Twitter that doesn't match what allegedly is happening to people that are on the ground seeing things happen in real time, and we didn't even realize that was one of the key settings. It's one of the key things that had been changed that can be done.
Right, and that's what, so you have people that are passing around memes and talking all over the place how, her boyfriend posted his condolences 3 hours before, like 4 minutes before she died, when actually it was 2.5 hours after, but someone changed their time zone and took a screenshot. I actually did it. I went onto Twitter. I have Eastern time zone. I took a screenshot of that tweet. It was at 9:34 a.m. Eastern time. I then went into my own Twitter account, changed my time zone to Pacific, and took a screenshot because it changed the time to 6:34 a.m., which would appear to be 10 minutes before she died. But that was because of the time zone setting, and not because the tweet was early.
Go ahead,
I really
Brandon.
don't know what to add to that. That's exactly how the system works. I mean, we're kind of at a point now where what you see is not what you should believe, guys. And
Right.
the conspiracy theories have become true. And, the people that are trying to make a mountain out of a molehill with these kinds of things are just ignorant to how the system actually works.
And I think it's very offensive to the families that are now grieving family members who died senselessly, and now they have to, anything that they turn on, they're being questioned on whether they're grieving appropriately. Should they have given an interview so soon? They were tweeting before the time, which is just categorically false. And you're really victimizing the victims' families even further by doing these things. And I think people really need to step back. Number one, fact check yourself before you put it up there, because this was very easy for me to verify on Twitter within seconds. And and really be respectful of the people who are grieving family members that died senselessly, and you don't need to further victimize them.
And my big problem with this is there are such things as false flag operations.
Absolutely.
There are real ones that occur, but we have too many Chicken Littles and Boys Who Cry Wolf who every time something happens, it's the end of the world and it's all a false flag, and it diminishes what we say when there is a real false flag going on. So when everything becomes a conspiracy, nothing is a conspiracy, and you lose all credence, and we all look like a bunch of loons because you're screaming false flag for everything that happens.
I actually was blocked by someone that I've been friends with for 20 years yesterday by saying, listen, this is the screenshot I took it with my settings on Eastern time. This is the screenshot I took of my settings on Pacific time. This is not what happened. And she blocked me, and I've known this person personally for 20 years.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Look, when all you have is the conspiracy theory hammer, then everything looks like a conspiracy theory nail.
Yeah.
It happens. I mean, it really is. It's one of those things where if somebody is constantly talking about something being a conspiracy theory, then that's all they got. They got nothing else left. And that's sad that way, to make it that way. But, it is what it is, man. What can you do about that? One other thing, Brandon, before I let you go, is last Sunday night was the beginning of a new series out there, Fear the Walking Dead. Now, I didn't even watch this until last night. Actually, everybody went to bed last night, and then I sat and watched this thing. Have you seen this thing, Brandon, and what do you think?
I did. It is definitely a an hour and a half setup to things actually happening. Very little happens. It's a prequel to The Walking Dead. It's centered in the outbreak, this pandemic of zombie disease that's going to break out and ravage the world, as we know. But it's all about character development, setting up a new setting in Los Angeles with all new characters, and had good ratings. Well, it pulled over 10 million people in the initial screening. So, it just shows that AMC really knows what they're doing, and we should say it's already been renewed for a second season, so 13 episodes, second season. So I expect that to be around for a while.
I thought, and you're right. What you're saying is correct. Is that the first episode has to, and it has to be this though. There's no getting around this. It has to be a setup and character development, so you can kind of see how this whole thing went down. What did you think about the actors and actresses that they have playing in these parts for the first time? What did you like who they have?
Oh, well, again, I'm trying to give them a little bit of time. They have a good track record with their casting and their performers. I don't know that I really cared enough about any of the characters that if they had died in the first episode, I really would have cared. I think that there's just not really been enough material. It's more of just kind of like an introduction, and it was kind of a weak introduction because they kind of bounce around with about 4 or 5 characters that are obviously going to be the core group they're going to go with. But you don't really know much about them. You kind of know pieces of things, and you don't care enough at this point if they were to get killed, and you don't really, it's a completely different approach, because obviously when, Walking Dead started, it was all about this guy waking up in this coma, and he's a police officer, so you're empathizing with a man of authority who's, now completely weak and disoriented, and, then it's a world of chaos and, survivalism and all that, so it's going to be a completely different approach, at least for now. But I think with the preview of the second episode and beyond, I think it'll become a lot more of how do you survive in the chaos when the outbreak's happening.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did you find yourself, when you were watching it, Brandon, keep saying, you may not even said it out loud, but you might have said it to yourself, is that when you're watching one of them try to kill one of the zombies, hit him in the head, hit him in the head, hit him in the head, because they just were doing everything but hitting them in the head. And I always thought that, when he was running them over with the car, ran over him once and ran over him again, it's just hit him in the head. What are you people doing?
Well, but again, that, and they're trying to figure that. I thought that was actually probably one of the more clever aspects of the writing, was because nobody knows how to kill them, right? You kind of have to learn how to kill them. It's been easy when you grow up and you're the audience member and you're watching Zombieland that teaches you what a double tap is, but it's not the same for a character in a show where it's supposed to actually be happening, that would be reality. I always joke with my son. I said, what if there actually was a zombie outbreak, but you had to shoot them in the kneecap? How long would it take for people to realize that they were shooting all these zombies in the head, but they kept coming? They don't have a head. I mean, whatever it may be. So, it's science fiction. You got to take it a little grain of salt. But I actually like the idea that they would try to backpedal a little bit, that the humans have to figure it out a little bit.
Yeah, no. I thought it was actually pretty good. And then, when they had you haven't seen it yet, have you, Greg?
Well, I watched some of it, but to that, it's so you live in an alternate universe where no one has ever made a zombie movie before this zombie outbreak.
Okay, all right, I'll give you that one. All right, what else is going out there, Brandon? Anything? I mean, anything else you want to bring out before we let you go?
A lot of movie reviews right now. The center of the page, you'll see 3 of the most recent movie reviews. War Room is the most recent one I did this morning. An interesting story about chicken sharing. So that's an interesting, it landed in weird news. And it's not a Florida story, I don't believe, but I do think it's kind of, crosses over into Florida. So it doesn't really kind of count. But yeah, lots of good stuff. A lot of great contributors. Very blessed and lucky to have people that are helping us out during this time, especially while I'm in school right now. And it's good. Check it out.
All right. His name is Brandon. The website is theglobaldispatch.com. Brandon, thank you so much, brother. We'll talk to you next week.
You guys take care and talk hard.
Talk hard.
All right. Always nice talking to Brandon.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
He always brings some quality to the program.
All right. Well, let's take a break here real quick. And then when we get back, I would like to talk about the redistricting.
I had just pulled up a story about that.
There you
Excellent.
go. I would say it's like we were all on the same page, reading your mind. All right, we'll be back in a second. You're listening to Liberty Underground.
is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
For many years, libertarian candidates have been up against the political machines of the Democrat and Republican duopoly. Libertarians in Florida needed a machine of their own, and now they have it. The Florida Libertarian PAC was created to support principled, professional candidates here in the state of Florida for local and statewide offices. We are committed to seeing a libertarian victory in the state of Florida. We need you to make that a reality. Visit FloridaLibertarianPAC.com to get information on how you can see a libertarian victory in Florida. Political advertisement paid for by the Florida Libertarian PAC, not in conjunction with any candidates or candidates committee.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Welcome back, Liberty Underground 1787 Radio Network. If you'd like to call the program, by the way, 1-800-525-4032. Refresh Telecom, 1-800-525-4032. Well, we've talked about enough of the crazies in different areas. Let's go to the crazies in Tallahassee.
So, and we've talked about this before, is that the Florida legislature was called into another special session. This is now the second one of the year. We're going to have a third one coming up in October.
Hold on. I do want to say that I have one conspiracy theory that I like to put forward right now.
What is that?
I think that the Florida legislature wants to actually meet all year round and get paid for meeting all year round. So they're just doing special sessions all the time so they can figure out a way to just make it happen.
But then, if you look, you'll see that they actually are announcing this special session 3 days after it actually happened because you went from a time zone in like China.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely a false flag here.
No, so this is now the second special session. Oh my gosh, say that 5 times fast.
Second special session.
So, and this was for the redistricting for congressional districts. And
they don't even have any skin in the game in this one.
Yeah, no, this, I mean, anyone who lives in the south part of Pinellas or or over in Jacksonville to from Jacksonville to Orange County, can tell you that there are some highly gerrymandered districts.
Oh, yeah.
Because there is no reason that southern Jacksonville should have a tiny piece that goes all the way down like a snake to Orange County.
Yeah, and for those of you that are map challenged, there's like 5 counties there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know exactly how many counties there are, but
there's
a
lot of counties, and it's probably, what would you say, from Jacksonville to Orlando, how long's the drive?
I think 2 hours.
That's easy.
2 hours, yeah, maybe even a little more.
Maybe.
So you're looking at a district that, number one, is only this tiny little meandering snake through the middle.
Yeah.
And it's like a 2 hour span if you were to drive from one side to the next.
Yeah. No, that's right.
So none of it made any sense. You had people in southern Pinellas that ended up in a district on the other side of a 10-mile long bridge in Hillsborough, sorry. I was talking to Mikey all morning about Hernando County. So you have all of these things, it was definitely, they made no sense. They were completely gerrymandered to keep very safe districts for Republican candidates by putting a bunch of Democrats into other districts. It was just really done poorly. And the Supreme Court, because we do have the fair districting amendment in the Florida Constitution, it was challenged. It was actually, these districts now, this will be the third time that they were drawn. They redrew them because the court threw out the first set. And then this set got challenged and by people who then went to the court and the court threw them out. So, I mean, we're looking at like the third set of districts and what happened is, like in the legislative session this year, the House and the Senate could not agree. The Senate stormed out of the room when the House was there. Then the Senate said, well, let's try to work things out. And the House said, forget it. We're not working with you people anymore. And they ended the special session with nothing done.
Yeah, they got nothing. They had one job to do. One job.
You had one job.
And it was to set up the lines for the congressional districts. And this is for the federal office, and you guys are all state people. So you're not even setting up your own lines. You're setting up the lines for Congress, and you couldn't even get it done.
And this is what happened. Basically at some point the talk started going bad. The Senate President, Andy Gardner, and several of the Senate leaders walked out of the room. Then the House basically called it and said, we're leaving. The Senate said, listen, let's start to negotiate, let's not end it with getting nothing done. Let's extend the special session for another couple hours. And the House said no. And they said, well, let's extend, maybe let's come back next week. And let's extend it till next week. We'll take a break now. We'll come back next week for like 2 days and try to work it out. The House said no. They said, you walked out, so forget you. We're not negotiating with you anymore. And that's how it ended.
Yeah. So you have and again, the reason that they had to go back up there was because they allowed consultants and other special interests to really dictate to them the lines for where they were going or where the districts were meeting at. Like, they screwed this up, and the people that the people that put forth the constitutional initiative called Fair Districts, which passed.
Overwhelmingly.
Overwhelmingly.
I mean, it was like 80-something%. It was crazy.
Yeah. So those guys were sued, and they won in court.
Yes.
And it forced them to have to come back, and then they came back, and we see what ends up happening. And then you have people, like Senator Kelly Stargell comes out and says, well, the Florida legislature failed. Well, you're absolutely right, but you're part of that, though. So I don't know if you should really be standing in front of a crowd smiling like a dumbass.
Well, I think that's a stock photo. Well, I don't think that's her when she said it.
No, that is from when she said it.
Oh, she said it at the Tiger Bay Club?
In Polk County, yeah.
Oh, wow.
The Polk County Tiger Bay Club.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize she said it. I thought she was giving an interview outside of her district.
I didn't realize she was that unaware.
Yeah.
Well, look, and she's one of these very authoritarian psychopath politicians.
One of the worst.
Oh, she is actually the worst. I mean, for it to come in there to act like the legislature somehow is the parent. Well, what's funny is she is saying that sometimes they got to rein their kids in when it came to the craft breweries. Well, who's there to rein you in there, Chickie?
Because they're the ones acting like children.
Yeah, because the real kids are you. I mean, the real people that are acting like immature children are you, Kelly Stargell.
One side storms out of the room. Then they say, okay, we calm down, we're ready. And the other side was like, no, screw you people, we're done. I mean, who's the children?
Yeah.
They all are. They're all children.
And I have to say, for everyone who says like that there's this huge difference between the Republicans and the Democrats, let's just remember that this fighting is Republicans and Republicans. Not because Democrats wouldn't fight either, but because they're in control of everything and can't agree with each other.
Yeah. I'll tell you what this does show, by the way, and I don't know if this is actually going to happen, but, you know, you have a Republican-controlled House, Republican-controlled Senate here in Florida. The governor and all of the cabinet positions are all Republicans. And they still can't get anything done. And normally I would actually say that's a good thing that they can't get anything done. But it's costing us money when they have to go up there and do these special sessions.
It's $65,000 a day to run a special session.
Is that all the cost, or is it more than that?
No, that's all the cost. $65,000 a day.
So all the per diem, all
yeah,
the...
yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's everything. $65,000 per day for a special session. That means that 20-day special session a little while ago was, over $1 million. This special session, which was like 10 days, $600,000. And they're going to have another one in October. And they didn't even get anything accomplished during... The taxpayers of Florida paid $600,000 for these people to go up there, fight with each other, and go home and get nothing done.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much what happened. And they got another one coming up, and the other one's going to be worse.
And the other one is going to be worse. Now you have another one coming up in October that's going to be another 10 days, another $600,000. Then that they're still going to fight because there's no way this is going to go well if they couldn't even do the congressional districts. It's absolutely ridiculous. We're paying, it's going to be something like $3 million in special sessions this year. And this is your fiscal conservative Republicans.
Yeah, go ahead.
I swear, basketball and politics is the only place where you can get paid for not doing your job.
How is basketball relevant there? I'm just curious.
Shaquille O'Neal did his job like 86% of the time, if that.
Oh,
with his free throw percentage.
And that's still higher than Rubio's voting record is.
Yeah.
That is higher than Rubio's
exactly.
voting
That's
record.
the thing. Even basketball players do their job more.
It is kind of funny, though. Now, so we'll see what happens in the next session. The courts are now going to be the ones that decide the lines.
Well, the challengers, the people who brought this to court to begin with, are now asking the courts to basically step in and draw the lines, because they're saying, why are we going to spend more money on another special session for them to just argue? Just have the courts draw the lines.
Yeah, and which is, look, the solution to this, which, really, the solution to this is that we should actually...
Elect better people.
That actually is the right solution. However, with that being said, the real solution here is to have an independent council.
Right.
Because the problem that's coming into play here is these guys are making decisions based off of percentage of registered voters in each party and race. Is that these are the two variables that these guys are using, and I really think that really does a disservice to what a representative republic actually means. Like, what they mean is that we want the reason they draw it the way they draw it is, well, we want this one to be a lot of black people in this district, so a black person will get elected so we can have a representative up there that's black. And that this one is a Hispanic one, and so we want a Hispanic person to go up there. And I really think that does a disservice to having honest representation, because you want to get the best, a best representative for that area, and that should go across all racial lines and, all of that. And so, look, wherever you live is where you live, and they should draw it according to population. There should only be two factors: population and
geographical lines.
Yeah, state geographical lines. And what I mean by that is precincts, counties, things like that. That's the only things that you should matter. Nothing else should even matter at all. And whoever lives wherever they live, that's where they live. And if you get more Democrats in some places and more Republicans in some places, it is what it is, man. Honestly, you can't be mad. They're like, well, they're going to gerrymander the districts. Well, if you put the Democrats in charge, the Democrats would do the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, they can sit there on their high horse because they're not in charge, but be in charge. And you watch them do the exact same thing. As a matter of fact, even the people that are the fair districts people are not being fair in what they want to see done. Like, nobody's being fair. Put it in a computer and let the computer spit out the results and then just go with that. You know,
Let the math do it instead of your emotions.
Yeah. Look, I think that if you draw a line to put a bunch of people from one race in one district, that's racist.
No, I agree with you.
I mean, I don't even think there's any getting around that. That's just, and again, whether you are black or white, it's racist nonetheless. Do you really want to be segmented out? Like, because here's the thing. What ends up happening is you get dumbasses from all races to go up there. You know what I mean? Like, these guys you got some idiots that go up there that are white, black, Hispanic. They're all idiots. Maybe we should start electing people that aren't morons.
Yes, that is the solution. Start electing people that aren't morons.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's another step before that is get people to run for office that aren't morons.
Well,
But-
That's true, too.
that is true because
One step at a time.
Yeah. So your job, if you don't like what's going on, is to start finding someone who's not a moron, saying, "Wow, that person seems to make some sense." Then recruit them to run for office, and then do everything you can to get them elected. And then do that over again.
A couple rules there. First off, though, please make sure that the people that you do select to go up there to run for office are not racists, misogynists,
who don't necessarily have to be the same people.
Yeah, it can be different people.
Yeah.
Disqualify them both for that. Or support things like eugenics. I mean, just little things.
There should
like
be a
that.
line.
There should be a line.
Yeah.
Or anti-Semitic. That's probably another good one too.
Yeah, there are a lot of absurd things that people can say that doesn't necessarily mean they're not that they're not a moron. I mean, people can be very smart and still say absurd things or have horrible beliefs.
Right.
So not being a moron is just the first test.
Number one, that's like, okay, you're not a moron. Let's do some more vetting before we just get you elected.
Yes.
Just saying.
Just put it
I
out
would
there.
say that if you have any hate-filled or bigoted stances against any group, you're probably disqualified. And if you use the term undesirables, again, disqualified.
Yeah. And here's the thing. If they hold those views, that doesn't necessarily immediately disqualify them. If they're able to keep their mouth shut about those views is really the most important thing. Because you never really know what's going on inside people's heads. You only know by what they say. And if what they say is clearly absurd, off the wall, is only going to make us look bad by getting behind them, that's where you got to draw the line.
Yeah, you got to draw the line there. So, well, good show this week, guys. Oh, the last thing I did want to mention.
Good, because we have 6 minutes.
Yeah, he said, good show this week. I look at the time. I'm like, what?
Oh my gosh.
Hold on.
Apparently, we have not synced our clocks here. Let's do the Twitter twick. And
there was one more. There was one more thing I wanted to mention.
Twitter trick.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. All right, so the one more thing I wanted to mention was this, is that, a lot of people are always asking, what should we do? How can we affect change and do all this other stuff? And the other night, I came up with an idea, and I was going to do something really big with it, but instead I'm just going to put it out there and then let it go the way it goes. Is that I have listed out, if you go to the Libertarian Party of Florida's group page, there's a group page known as Libertarian Party of Florida.
On Facebook.
On Facebook. And if you go there and you click on the events tab, and clicking on it, you will see something called the Florida Libertarian Activist Challenge. And what I've done is I've listed out, I think, 17 different things that you could do. And it really does run the gamut. Because me and Danielle were talking about this, and we were trying to figure out, there's no one group you could put this on because of all the different things that are involved in it.
And I still think you put it in the wrong place, but that's beside the point. But I do think it's a really good idea.
Oh, you still think I put it in the wrong spot?
Oh, absolutely. This wasn't a party thing, and they own the page. It shouldn't have been there.
Oh, I got you. Well, this is one of the open pages.
It doesn't matter. They still own it. It's still their property.
Okay, all right. Well, at any rate, there's about 17 different things that you can do. And it's small things, not small things, but it's all, little things for a bunch of different candidates. And it's for ballot initiatives, for a legislative effort, for party building, for jury outreach, for national elections, alternative media. And last, but certainly not least, would be charity, because we should be charitable. So if you go there, it's things like help Joe Haynes, help Brianna Kirkland. At any rate, go there. You'll see it. If you go to the page and you look at the events, you'll actually see it. And try to accomplish as many of them as you can. I'm wondering how many I'll be able to get done myself. So I think it's a good idea. And Danielle, I'm glad you like the idea.
I do. I like the idea. You brought it to me yesterday morning. We were talking about it, and the only issue that I saw with it is that there was no one group that really should be housing this idea, because you added in a bunch of action items for a lot of different groups. And that if you personally wanted to put this out just as a person, I could understand that. But I don't think this is something where if you're an activist who happens to be a libertarian, not necessarily part of the Libertarian Party of Florida, this would be good for you. And so and in disclosure, I'm a registered libertarian, not a member of the party, but I would like this list.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be a part of the party to take this and do well with it.
I love the idea. I think it's great.
I like the idea. I thought it was a good idea, actually.
And you presented it to me, and I told you my problems with it. But
Well,
the idea itself is great.
Well, but as you can see, though, is that the amount of money that I had per went from $100 to $25. After I talked to you, it was $50. Somebody else went and even said it was that I should go even less than that. So I thought that was actually kind of funny.
My problem with it is, I don't have a whole lot of money to spend. I can't donate a whole lot of money, but I put in the time. But the thing is, the amount of time and effort that these things take compared to how much money you were having people give, they are so out of balance. It was kind of crazy.
Well,
to me.
I think that listen. I think that this has been said for a long time. It's one of those like, give me your time or give me your money when it comes to charities and different volunteer organizations. And I think saying like, listen, you have to have money because that's what keeps these things going. But if you can't give money,
you got to put a money contingent in there.
Because there's some people that really don't have the time but do have money. And they should be supporting it in their way, just like people who don't have the money but do have, some free time should be supporting these things in their way. And I think you have done immeasurable things for the party locally on a statewide basis for different organizations because of the time commitment that you've put in, that you can't even put a monetary value to that.
Right. Thank you. And I agree with that. And that was kind of my point with it is when you compare the tasks that you're looking at for people to do compared to the amount of money, it's almost like people are just going to give the money because the amount of time and energy that it takes to accomplish that task. I can earn the amount of money that you're asking for in the time it would take me to drive there. To not even get it done, just to drive there.
But I think mentioning the money aspect of it is a good thing for people who really do work, 80, 90 hours a week, but would have some extra money to be able to put in these places.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think the other thing is, look, I think when it comes to the money thing, look, the volunteering is important, but the money is important too.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. They're both important, and I don't think it's right to downplay either in any way. And I don't think that's what I was doing in my opposition.
Oh, I absolutely think it's what you're doing. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I didn't think you were doing that. It's funny to say that though, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go with that again. Yeah, I thought you were doing that. So no, I was and it was an idea. I think it's a good idea. We'll see what happens with it. It should be a lot of fun. We'll see how many people talk about it, how many people actually do it, and what I'd like to see is people actually doing something though.
Yeah.
That's what I want. No, there you go. And there's music. So
I
also added it to my own page. So if you go to my own personal Facebook page, Alexander Snickers' personal page, you also can see it there as well. So I added it in one other area to make Danielle feel better because obviously she didn't feel better.
Follow him on Twitter too. He's not getting Twitter followers as fast as he used
Change
to.
your time zone, and then everything will be all messed up. You'll get the news before it happens.
Exactly. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. You'll listen to Liberty Underground.